Hello, welcome to my bookshelf, and today I want to share with you guys my TBR for the month of January. In the past, I've done really ambitious TBRs where there's like 10 books on one TBR and then I finish like half of them. And it's really pathetic, and then I carry over so many books and then I add a whole bunch of books to that, and then my TBRs just get more and more crazy as the year goes on, and it was just not a good idea. And so now I've decided to rein myself in. So if you've watched my goals video for the year, you'll know all about this. But basically, for each month, I'm only going to have 5 books on my TBR in the hope that I will actually finish my entire TBR, or at the very least, I'm only rolling over like one book into the next month. So hopefully I won't have that problem anymore in the upcoming years. So that being said, if you've also watched my goal video, you'll know that I decided to kind of come up with a way to pick my TBR, because in the past it's been very arbitrary. It's just like whatever I want to read. And I think that was part of the problem of why I was picking very ambitious TBRs, because I have a lot of books that I all want to read. So it's hard for me to rein myself in and only pick a few. So all of this to say is that I've come up with very specific ways of how I'm going to pick each and every book in my TBR. So I will kind of go through how I picked each book as I go through my TBR. So let's just jump on in. So the first book is kind of my diversity read of the month. I actually have a couple books that fit this category, which is really exciting. But at the very least, I want just one book a month that is written by a diverse author or includes diverse characters. Both would be ideal, but sometimes it's just one or the other. And that pick is The Elephant Vanishes by Haruki Murakami. If you don't know, Murakami is Japanese, and his characters are Japanese as well, so at least for the most part. So that's really exciting, and I really like Murakami. I've read 2 of his novels previously. They're very bizarre. He writes in magical realism. That's his genre of choice, it seems to be. So it's a very unique reading experience, to say the least, but it's very unique, and I do enjoy it, and I just think that he has a lot of really interesting things to say, even though it's sometimes tricky to uncover because of the bizarre storylines, but I do think that they're all enjoyable reads. That being said, this book is a short story collection, so I can't really speak to the plot itself because, they're all different stories. But at the very least, I'm sure it's going to involve magical realism, so it should definitely be an interesting read. Alright, so the next book I chose because it is a nonfiction book, and I strive to read at least one nonfiction book each month. This will most likely just be memoirs for the most part, but I do have other nonfiction books that I do want to get to at some point, so that could also include that in the future, but this time it's more or less a memoir, and that is This Star Won't Go Out, and it's more or less by Esther Earl. Now I say that because if you don't know, this book is a collection of Esther's journal entries and letters she wrote, and things she put on the internet, just like lots of random things that she has written. It also has things from her parents written in here as well, and other people too here and there, but for the most part it's just Esther. So we do get a glimpse of her life and what she was actually thinking and feeling as she went through all of these things in her life. The main issue that she was dealing with was cancer, because unfortunately she was diagnosed with thyroid cancer at age 12 and unfortunately passed away in 2010. And so she died really young in her life, and it's really hard to read in that aspect because she's gonna die, and I mean, not that anyone deserves to die, but I think it's just extra sad to read about someone so young dying, and it's hard in that aspect, but she has a lot of really powerful and important things to say, even though she is pretty young. She seems to be really mature in a lot of aspects, but at the same time she's still, a somewhat normal teenage girl. And I first heard about her through John Green. Apparently she was a big part of the Nerdfighter community, and so she did get to meet him and they did become friends, and she really did have a huge impact on John Green, and so he's talked about her many times. And that's how I originally heard about her and this book. I'm very excited to continue reading this book. I'm probably like a third of the way through this book. I'm really enjoying it a lot so far. So a new category that I've added to my TBR, because the previous two I've kind of been doing that last year as well, but it was never official. But now it is officially part of my TBR. The other three categories, if you will, are all new ones that I didn't have before, so that's exciting. So this next book meets the requirement of being part of a book series. I have a lot of books that are a part of series, but I don't tend to give them that much priority. So now that they actually have an official spot on my TBR, I will definitely be getting to those series now, which is really exciting for me. So the first one in that trend is going to be The Cuckoo's Calling by Robert Galbraith, aka J.K. Rowling, as I'm pretty sure we all know at this point. This is a murder mystery book. I've heard mixed reviews on this book. I don't think anyone really outright hates this book, but I feel like I've heard a lot of people say that they're disappointed by this book, just because, most likely, because J.K. Rowling is just, she is a really good author, especially demonstrated in Harry Potter, and I do really, really love her writing in that, and I am nervous to read her adult books because obviously it's going to be different just inherently, and I'm just nervous that I won't like it, and I just feel like it'd be so sad if I didn't like her other books, but we'll see if I like it or not. But either way, it is a murder mystery. That's always intriguing. I thought that at least in Harry Potter, she did she did mysteries really well. Though admittedly people did get murdered in Harry Potter, so she has had practice with this. I'm nervous, but I am excited for this, and I've had this book for a couple of years now, and I'm finally excited to get around to it and read it. So hopefully I'll have good reviews about this. Okay, so the next book I chose was based off of the 52 Books in a Year challenge on Goodreads. I've never participated in that before, and so I'm excited to be doing it this year. I love challenges. I just think it makes coming up with a TBR so much more fun and enjoyable. So what I did, at least this time anyway, is that I used a random number generator and I picked a random challenge. And so the challenge that I randomly chose was a book that involves a character that overcomes a hardship. I think this book definitely would qualify for hardship on a couple different levels, and that is A Long Way Gone, Memoirs of a Boy Soldier by Ishmael Bea. I think the title says it all. Being forced to more or less become a boy soldier is definitely not an easy thing to go through. He's from Sierra Leone, and I'm not sure if that's how you say it, but either way, I mean, I think he's 12 when everything starts happening, but some of the people start uprising, and they're very violent, and a lot of people die. And they're, literally just running for their lives and trying to, seek shelter and food. And, they have to kind of figure out how to survive this, like, crazy time in this country and in this place and where they grew up. And he's so young, and obviously he overcomes it because this is a memoir. This is a true story. This really happened. And so obviously he's overcome so many hardships. I've only just begun this story, but already so many just horrible things have happened around him, and he's been so blessed and so lucky to have survived and to have made it where he is. So this should be a good book for my hardship challenge. Okay, and the last book of my TBR will always be a random book. So this can be picked in a couple of different ways. This is kind of a way for me to have some leeway within my TBR, so I don't feel like really confined and forced into picking certain books. So I could pick just any random book I just really want to read that month, or I could kind of double up on some of the challenges if I want, if I want to read 2 memoirs or whatever, I can do that with this kind of slot. But what I chose this month was to pick a random number using a random number generator. I have written out these like random ways of picking books, like they're more or less challenges from other readathons and other things I've just come up with myself. And yeah, so I numbered them and I picked that random number and I chose a challenge, and that helped me pick out this book. There's still a lot of leeway even within that. I mean, you can still pretty much choose more or less whatever you want, as long as it, meets that challenge. So the challenge that my number generated for me was read a book with a one-word title And this is going to look misleading, but I assure you it is a one-word title. So it's called S by J.J. Abrams and Doug Durst. So the book is written in a unique way. So the book itself, which is Ship of Theseus, is part of the reading experience. So like we have that text in here, but we also have things written in the margins. And we also have inserts, so like, postcards kind of just shoved in one of the pages, and that obviously has writing on it, and so that's kind of an extra dimension to the storytelling. So it's a really unique book, and I've kind of been intimidated by this book for a long time now, but I think now that I have extra time, I can actually commit myself to reading this book. So I do hope to finally complete this book. It's just a really unique reading experience, so it just makes me nervous to try to figure out how best to read everything, because I'm not sure if I should read the text first or if I should read the margins first or what. So I'll figure it out either way, and hopefully complete this book this month. Alright, so that is my January TBR. It is only 5 books, so admittedly I have a lot of books that I started in December that are not included in this official TBR, but I'm going to focus on those 5, and if I do manage to complete them with extra time, I will obviously jump to other books that I've started as well. So hopefully my wrap-up, I'll have more than just these 5 to talk about. We'll find out. But at the very least, I do hope to actually complete my TBR for the month. And so with that, I just want to, as always, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and until next time.